So, year in review for the Brooklyn Nets. So, obviously, they finished the regular season as the 2 seed in the East. They finished 48-24. We watched in the Eastern semifinals that they lost to Milwaukee, the eventual NBA
Barely.
champs. We barely, true, by a toe. They had Kyrie Irving hurt at the end of the season. James Harden was on one leg at the end of the season. And obviously, during the season was when they made the big deal for James Harden, too. We can't forget that. It feels like it was the beginning of the season that happened, but that happened halfway through. All in all, not reaching expectations, but not a terrible season for the Nets. But I'd like to know what you guys think about the events that unfolded, the grade you would give the Nets for this season, and then what you think they should be doing this offseason.
Well, they failed their goal of winning a championship, so their grade is a D. But
Okay.
they put a good roster together that has a chance to run it back next year with 3 superstar players, KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. They were able to get some guys to come like Blake Griffin for cheap, and they're gonna have some more ring chasers coming this year. They're starting to develop Nick Claxton. Joe Harris had a bad series, but he did his role for the most part of the season. They found a few pieces here and there that can contribute. I think they're moving forward. They have a chance to be one of the best teams in the league again, like they were this year. Dennis gonna shake his head because whatever reason he just has to disagree with everything I say. But I think
hate you.
What?
I hate you.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the issue that they have is DeAndre Jordan and his contract. He's taking up $10 million in salary and not playing. What do they got to do in the offseason? They got to go get a big that can defend the rim, that can shoot and space the floor, and one that doesn't cost too much money. It's going to be hard to find. They do have 3 or 4 picks in this draft, so maybe they could be creative and move around or trade some picks for players. Who knows? There's no real who are we going to sign this offseason? The only question mark we have is Spencer Dinwiddie. Are we going to re-sign him and pay him $25 million a year? Are we going to use a sign and trade? Maybe that's the way we get a stretch big that can play defense. Somebody asked me the other day, gun to your head, is Spencer Dinwiddie in net next year? And I said yes, because I don't know what big we would trade him for. Ideally, the best big for the Nets is Miles Turner. But I don't know how that would work. I don't know if they could do that in a sign and trade. I don't know if there's some salary cap maneuvering that they can do. I don't even think there's a way we can get them. Let's try to find the cheap version of Miles Turner. And right now, I don't know who that would be. I've said Frank Kaminsky, but he's nowhere near Miles Turner. I don't know. Maybe there's some kid playing in Bulgaria or on the Slovenian national team that Sean Marks finds watching the Olympics, and Victor Klankar or whatever his name is. Maybe we find someone. I don't know, but I think the number one agenda on the Nets offseason is figure out what to do with Dinwiddie and see what veterans they could possibly target as buyout candidates and ring chasers like Kevin Love, or I'm sure there's going to be others. That's just the one that comes to mind first. Dennis shook his head for the whole minute and a half that I was talking, so I'm sure he's already planning Kyrie's retirement party.
I will just say I've seen a couple of Pro-Am highlights of Reggie Perry going to work.
Oh, Reggie Perry. What was he playing up against, LiAngelo Ball?
I mean, I definitely didn't recognize anyone else in the video other than Reggie Perry, so I can't say that it was great competition.
So the Nets they're going to probably take some guy named Miroslav Ovovich, and he's going to play. He's not going to play. So the draft's not going to help him at all. The biggest thing that they need to do is they need to sign Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie is the hope of the Brooklyn Nets. That's it.
I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie as a sixth man is amazing.
Spencer Dinwiddie as anything is amazing. Spencer Dinwiddie is the key to the Brooklyn Nets, because if he doesn't play, if he's not in Brooklyn, I'm very nervous. I mean, I'm looking at Kyrie the last couple seasons, 54 games last season, 20 games the year before, 67, 60, 72-53. This guy cannot stay healthy. He can't play a whole season. He's crazy. He's out of his.
Stop crying.
He's got mental issues, and I'm not knocking anybody with mental issues, but somebody needs to in Brooklyn needs to like take this guy to a psychiatrist and figure out what the hell's going on with him. When you're walking around with blessing with the ghosts, getting rid of ghosts on the court, you got a mental problem. Imagine if this guy's heart was actually in it, he'd be an MVP, and he's not. He's just naturally talented. And if we're going to keep him, that's great. I mean, keep Kyrie Irving, that's fine. But then you need Spencer Dinwiddie because this guy's going to go down at some point. Either he's going to have a nervous breakdown and they're going to need a point guard. And Spencer Dinwiddie is the perfect man for it. Kevin Love, it's inevitable when his calf grows back. He's gonna sign with the Nets. They got to get rid of DeAndre Jordan. They got to upgrade somewhere. Joe Harris, something's got to be done with him. I don't say trade him yet. I like Joe Harris. He's a great, great dude. Everybody loves him. He's like the Brooklyn net of all nets. So you got to keep him. And then Harden and Durant, like you got to like take it easy on them throughout the year. So you're going to have to do a lot of load management with those guys to keep them healthy. Blake Griffin's going to come back. There's no doubt about it. He's going to come back to Brooklyn. So they still have plenty of talent, but it's really all going to come down to Spencer Dinwiddie.
So what grade would you give them this past season?
For a team that didn't have like an actual training camp and was just kind of thrown together in a COVID season, and they had a lot of injuries and COVID issues and stuff like that, I would give them a B plus.